welcome to Waldorf Wonder Things. Today we're creating little Christmas reindeer. Before we begin our reindeer, we first need to gather our supplies. First we have our pattern, which is the antler, the hood, the head and the body. We have our body fabric, our skin fabric, a red beeswax crayon and a scrap piece of skin fabric, some cotton thread, some stronger cotton tying thread, some cotton gauze. I have some wool roving, which I use for making the head and the hands and stuffing the body, embroidery threads, pipe cleaners, pins, needle, some wool felt. I've used a cream color here. I have some red ribbon. I also have a chopstick, pencil, some scissors, snips, and some pliers. Now to start our little reindeer, I've taken our reindeer body template and I've used a white pencil to trace around it onto our fabric. Now I'm going to cut out the reindeer with my scissors. I don't want to cut on the line. I'm going to leave a very small seam allowance. Okay, so that's probably what it looks like now. Now I'm going to use my sewing machine to stitch along the top of the arm here. I'm going to leave the armholes open. Then I'm going to stitch from the bottom of the arm around the legs, both legs, back up the other side of the body and the bottom of this arm. Leave the armhole open and stitch along the top. I'll also leave the neck open. So I'm lining up the needle with the white line. Okay, our body has now been sewn together. Now all I'm going to do is just check around and make sure none of the stitches have gone close to the edge. Check on both sides in case your fabric happened to slip while you're stitching. Now to make the arms move a bit more freely, take your snips and make a little cut just under the armpit. You don't want to go near the stitching, but you just want to free this fabric up a little bit too. You can do also a little extra cut in between your legs. Okay, don't turn inside out yet because we need to attach our hands first. While I've got the sewing machine here, I'm going to get the hood ready. So my hood piece, I've used my template to cut out exactly. I didn't use the white pencil and mark it. I've used a template to cut out exactly this shape. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take out my pin, and then what I need to do is on this long flat side, that's the side where the face will go, I'm going to create a tiny little hem. So I'll fold this back and then I'll stitch from the top to the bottom on both pieces. Now we have two pieces with their edges hemmed. We're going to put them right sides together. I'm going to start a little bit in and then work backwards and then come back around. That'll stop me from having a little piece of cotton sticking out from the front. So I'm going to start from the top, work all the way around the back of the head and then down towards the neck. Now you want to check on both sides that your sewing is not so close to the edge. You can see on this side that I stitched very close here. So I'm going to come now and do another line of stitching just to make sure this doesn't come apart later. Okay, now I have my second line of stitching, which is much better than the first line. Okay, so now I have my little hood ready and I have my body. So we're going to attach the hands now. To make your hands, you'll need a piece of skin fabric. This is about 2 inches by 2 inches. You need a tiny little bit of wool roving, your strong tying string, and some scissors. First take a little bit of your wool roving. This is a bit of trial and error. I don't really know how much this is. I just sort of squeeze it together. So then I test by just putting it in the fabric and bringing all of the fabric up and drawing it around. Now I can look at that and I decide, is that a good size? So if I want to adjust, all I need to do is take a little bit extra and test again, or just simply take a little bit out. until you're happy with the size. So then bring all of the edges up together. If you have big creases like this, it's easy just to come in and just sort of smooth it out a little bit. Just keep feeling with it until you're happy with the shape and the size. Now what you want to do is take your string while you're holding your little hand so it doesn't come undone. Get ready to make a knot, slip that over your hand and wrap a couple of times. If you're happy with it, go ahead and tie a knot. If not, you can always just do this again. So you want to tie a double knot so it doesn't come undone. Quite firmly, double knot it. And then just to keep things tidy, we're just going to trim that. Now you want to go ahead and make another hand. Oh, I might just trim this as well, the bottom. So everything's nice and tidy, and now you've got a little hand ready to go into your body. Now I have my body piece, my two little hands, my needle and thread, and my snips. Now to attach our hands, what we're going to do is take one of the hands, and we're going to put it inside the arm. I'm going to put it ball side first into the arm. Now I want the edge of the arm to line up almost with this string on the inside in here. So now I'm just going to secure my thread by putting it through the fabric and into the hand below, and then I'm just going to double knot this. I'm just going to cut that a little short now so it doesn't get in my way. The other thing to make sure is that these two pieces where we've tied our hands, they're sticking on this side, they're not poking through onto the other side. So take your needle, and what we're going to do is work in a back stitch all the way around with nice small stitches. And then we'll go around a second time over the exact same line. When you come to the end again, just create a little stitch, and we're going to double knot this. When you've done that, you can just snip it a couple of centimeters down from the edge, and then this hand has been attached. We'll go ahead now and attach the other hand. Now our hands are attached to our body, we're going to turn the body inside out and put some stuffing in. So first we start with the hands, push them through, you might take a bit of wiggling. Now we go for the legs. Just push them gently through, you don't want to push through the stitching. Use your chopstick to help you push out those little seams. Now what we want to do is add little balls of the roving and create little legs. So you don't need too much. This is just a small amount. I'm just going to, actually before I do that, I will make two balls about the same size. So I know that they are around about the same size. Okay, now I've got my two balls. I'll push each of these into the little legs. Now what I want to do is create a little bit of belly padding. So I'm just going to create a little ball, which is roughly this big, and stuff that down the bottom and spread it to the sides of the body. So it looks a bit like this. Now, I haven't filled this completely to the top because in here, I'm going to put the head in here. I may come later and put some extra stuffing on the sides. It depends how it looks when the head is in. So I'll go ahead and attach the hood and get the head ready. So here I have my little head and my hood ready. I didn't put instructions on how to make this little head because I've already got a video that explains how to do that. I'll put the link for that one in the description. But for now, we'll take our little head and our hood and we'll just place it gently inside. If your hood is a little bumpy here, just take a couple of moments to tuck it under before you stitch it on. So you want this quite tight around his little face. You're going to take it and bring it together here. So you grab a little bit of the velour, a little bit of the skin, and a little bit of the velour on the other side. Bring that together, and then we're going to tie that into a double knot. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a running stitch around here. I'm just trying to get the velour at this point, the fabric. I'm not trying to bring it through the neck. This is so it bunches up nicely. I'm going to give it a little pull so it all gathers around the head. I'm going to add a couple of stitches to hold that tight. Now that I've got my hood in place, I'm again just going to do a couple of little maneuvers to make sure I'm happy with the positioning of the hood around the face. And now what I'm going to do with my needle and thread, I'm going to do little back stitches all along this little seam that we've already got here. I will go around the head twice to make sure the hood is nice and secure. So each time you're going through the hood and into the head beneath. Okay, so I've made it to the bottom. I'm going to go around one more time before I knot it here and then get ready to put the head into the body. I now have the completed head and the completed body. So what I'm going to do now is open up the little body and push some of the roving to the side to make a little pouch in there. Holding that open with my fingers, I'm going to stuff the little head into that little spot that I've just created. Okay, so he looks a bit like this. It's a little bit wonky. And I'm just going to take a pin and folding this raw edge down, I'm going to pin the center of it to just under the center of his chin. So I've got the fabric and the head in position here. Now at the back, I'm just going to pull it up a little, just catching the fabric to begin with. I'm going to put a knot just to secure our thread. Now I've put a double knot there. I'm just going to cut it a little bit short and then I'm going to poke that edge inside so I don't have to worry about that later. Now I'm going to catch the hood here, and then I'm going to ladder stitch the body and the hood together all the way around. When I get to the end of this arm here, you can see I've got a little gap. So I'm just going to close that with a couple little ladder stitches along the arm first before I attach it back to the head and the hood. So where possible, I want to go through the hood into the head. So at this point here, I might remove that pin. Okay, now that I've got my head in place, and I'm going to come around again with some ladder stitching just to really secure that there. I've just finished stitching the second round of ladder stitching around the neck. So now to finish this off, I'm going to create a knot. I'm going to put my needle right next to where my knot is, insert it into the body, bring it out somewhere, doesn't really matter where, pull it through so there's no string attached over here, or no string sticking out here. Now pull tight and snip as close to your fabric as you can without cutting your fabric. And your string should disappear, and so should your knot. Using your antler template piece, pin it to your wool felt and then cut out 4 of these pieces. When making the antler, what I've done is I worked from the back towards the front here. So this section here, that's where we'll put the chenille stick. So how I do that is I take my stick and I fold it in half. This bent section here goes up into the top of the antler here. I leave just a tiny little section because I know that's where the stitching will be. And then as I work it down towards the bottom, I bend it slightly. And then at the bottom here, just where it meets the edge of the felt, I take both sections and I bend them up. Okay, so I've bent them up in that section. Now I'm going to use that little bend and wrap the edge around. That's so it doesn't poke out of the felt. So it looks just like this. Okay, now we'll do the other one. And they should just sit nicely like this together. And then when you come to blanket stitch this side, we'll just put it in there and then stitch around the edge of it. Okay, we have our little reindeer and we have his completed antlers. So now we need to attach them to his head. So the position that we want to put them in is just about here. So we first locate this seam, and about in the middle, just below that seam, this is where we're going to attach the antlers. So we start with one. It's easier if I hold this here and then make a little knot and secure my thread. That's the easiest position to start. I have my string attached. Now I have my antler. So first thing, I'm just going to bring it through the top of the antler. Now as you remember, the antler has a hole here with our chenille in the middle. So as I work around, I'm just going to work on this side at the front and this side at the back as I ladder stitch. And just start making a couple of little ladder stitches. Now each time you put the ladder stitches into the head, try to catch the fabric on top and the head underneath. Now at the back, we're catching the back part of the felt, not all the way through to the front. So as I do this, the felt seems to separate a little bit to create a little bit more stability instead of it if it was stitched together and then attached to the head. Now don't worry about this bit of string, we're going to create some invisible knots to get rid of that. Now here you can see that my antler is sitting a little back. So as I come along this side, I'm going to catch the felt a little higher than I would at the back, and that should bring the antler forward a bit more. Now as I went higher on the front, I want to catch the felt a little bit lower at the back to maintain this position of our antlers. At this point, I'm just going to tie a little knot with the string that we've already got here. Now my thread I think is long enough to go through and attach the other antler, If yours isn't, at this point, poke your needle back through where your knot is and create your invisible knots with this string, the working string, and the other. And then attach your needle and thread on the opposite side of the head to put the second antler. Now the second antler is working exactly the same way as the first one. So once you have the second antler on, we'll get started with the ears. Now I've used my ear template to cut 2 pieces of the fluffy velour and 2 pieces of wool felt. Now I'm going to stitch them together. I'm going to take the fluffy side and put it on top of the felt. Take a pin and I'll pin that in place so it doesn't move around. Now what I'm going to do, I'm going to machine stitch along the side, along the tops, and along the other side. I'm going to leave this open so I can turn the ear the right way out. When I do this point here, I want to make sure that I don't round the edges. I want to come up nice and straight, stop, turn the fabric, and then come back down the other side. Okay, I'll go ahead and machine stitch both of these ears, and then we'll turn them in the right way and attach them to our reindeer. So now I have my 2 little ears that I've just sewn together. I've checked both sides and made sure that the stitching is well away from the edges. So now I'm going to turn it inside out. I'm just going to use the point of my chopstick here to push the very end and pointy bit of that ear. So now my ear looks like this. I'm going to do that to the other side. Turning it in, using the chopstick and pushing out the very point there. Now what you might like to do is just very carefully just chop off any end pieces that may be poking out. That one's not too bad. Just like this. I don't want to cut through any stitching though, so I'll just be very careful. So now to prepare these ears, what I'm going to do, I'm going to take my needle and thread and I'm going to catch a little bit of the velour on this side and also on the other side. Now that will bring them together. I'm just waiting for that to come through so I can put a knot there. I'm going to bring those edges together and double knot it. I'm holding that tight so it doesn't come undone. Now what I'm going to do is take my needle and insert it right where my knot is at the front, come through to the back in the center, and then make a little stitch from the back, and now I'm going to go back through to the front. So that will pull it closed here. Give your ear a little squeeze. Now I'm just going to tie another double knot. And this is how our ear looks now. So we're going to take our little reindeer and we're going to attach the ears just below the antler. Now the ears are attached very much in the same way that the antlers were attached. First we'll tie a knot here and then we'll do a ladder stitch around the ear. I'm going to put a little thread here and that's going to start me off. So as you'll notice, I'm not stitching the felt, I'm only stitching the velour because the felt is going to be encased inside the ear. So I'm just catching the top layers of this velour here, and you can see it's coming down to cover this felt. And again, just like with the antler, I'm mindful to catch part of the head as I attach the ear. So at this point, I'm going to look at my position of the ear. If I want his ears to droop down, that's okay, but this one I'd like his ears to pick up. So just like we did with the antler, the side that you want to bring closer, you stitch a little higher, so that will bring it up. Now I'm going to tie a knot with the string edges that I already have. Now that our little reindeer has both his antlers and his ears on, we're going to add some finishing touches. To do that, I've got a red beeswax crayon and a bit of scrap fabric. Now I've just rubbed the crayon over the fabric, like so. And then I'll take my little fabric square, I'm going to fold it so it becomes a little point. Now on his face, I'm just going to rub in little circles to create little little cheek colours. And you want to keep your little fabric so you can reapply it again at a later stage. Now I also like to give a little nose shaping. To do that, I just rub in a line down from where I imagine the bridge of the nose would be, down towards the cheeks. And there's his little face. Now the last thing I would do is get a little red ribbon and tie a little knot. Just take the ends and snip the ends off at the same length, and there, your little reindeer is finished. I really hope you enjoyed this tutorial.
Thank you for watching, and if you found this video helpful, show your support by giving it a like. And if you'd like to stay updated with all of my new tutorials, please subscribe.